Hallo, guten Abend. Ich hoffe, Sie können mich hören. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. So, herzlich willkommen. Wir beginnen jetzt unsere Live-Interaktion. We will begin our live interaction now. And I think the NPTEL team had circulated a document in which you could have given your questions. So normally the way I go about the live session is that I will go through the questions quickly. Those who have already posted questions, we will take them one by one. Whatever I can answer, of course, I will answer. And then we can, if those who are present, they can also then put their questions, either unmute yourselves and then put the question, or you can also type the question in the chat box. But please, there is only so many questions that I can check, okay, from the chat box. So just see whether your questions are answered during the first few minutes when I go through the questions, which are here with me on a sheet of paper. So let me start today's live interaction with the questions we have received till now. We have questions from maybe about 10-12 people, and I'll just read out the name of the learner who has put the question and the question itself, and if I can answer, I'll answer. So Mehjabin has asked about getting a master's degree opportunity in Germany. That is unfortunately not Mehjabin within the purview of our course. I mean, of course, there are, you can approach the DAAD or the German Academic Exchange Service, and they will have a database of master's degree programs available in German universities, especially for students who want to do master's program in the English medium. So you can, I'm just going to type the name of the institution here in the chat box. In German, it is called Deutscher Akademischer Austauschdienst, or DAAD, and in English it's called the German Academic Exchange Service. It is not a private organization, it's a publicly funded organization by the Association of German Universities and by the German government. And they will, I'm sure, be able to help you with their database on master programs in Germany. And there are master degree programs in many different disciplines. Sciences, of course, you know, sciences, engineering, but also in the humanities and social sciences, there are a lot of interesting master programs. So you please approach the DAAD. Their website, I'm sure you can find very easily. And they have offices in Delhi is the South Asia head office. Then you have offices in all the major cities in India. Okay. So I hope I've answered that question. Then the next question is from Aishwarya, and she asks how to memorize articles der, das, and die. And accusative dative are also confusing. So there is a very simple rule about, there are other people also who ask the same question. So please kindly, I'm answering all of this put together. Whoever has difficulties in remembering the articles of nouns. Now, this is something in German that we have to get used to from the beginning itself, that the gender distinction in German is not something that we are used to in English. Okay. And we need to, every time we come across a new noun, we have to learn the new noun with its gender and with its plural, because as you would have noticed by now, making the plural is also, there are some 14 different ways of making the plural, and it is not possible to exactly learn how to make those 14 different rules. So instead of that, the simple way is that when you learn a new word, you learn the new word with the article and the plural. And for example, the example I have given is, there are several. So for example, I have a keyboard here in front of me. When I look for the word for keyboard in German, I find the word is Tastatur. Tastatur is the word. So keyboard is Tastatur. Now I need to learn it as D Tastatur, and its plural is D Tastaturen, keyboards. So D Tastaturen. This is the best way to learn the articles, and of course, this is in the beginning, in the sense that once I have said in the lectures as well, once our vocabulary crosses a threshold, once our vocabulary crosses a certain threshold, and once we get used to German, the sound of the German words, we begin to notice patterns, and then we can, with fair amount of accuracy, predict the gender of nouns, and also most of the time the plurals as well. So to all of you who are asking me about the difficulties in remembering genders and plurals, a very simple rule: lernen Sie immer den Artikel und den Plural. Lernen Sie immer, learn always the article of every noun and the plural of every noun. Okay, I hope that is. You can also, of course, have your own different ways of categorizing nouns and things like that. So many people will make color code the nouns that they learn. For example, they'll have 3 different colors for 3 different genders, and then they'll put each new noun that they learn in a particular color, and so on. So there are many different ways of doing it, and I'm sure that you will also find online, if you just look for German genders and how to remember them, you'll find different ways of doing it. But to my mind, the most effective way is to, when you come across a new noun, learn the article by heart and the plural by heart. Okay, so that is the, I hope. Then accusative dative also, some other people have asked, and I'm going to, Aishwarya has asked about accusative dative. Confusing meaning, basically, we have to understand that when we speak sentences in any language, okay, and sentences meaning we are basically conveying some action or some incident, some event to another person. Okay, so in that event there is something happening, which is the action that is happening, which is the verb, or as you would, for learners of many Indian languages, it is the kriya. Okay, the verb, and which describes the action that is happening. Now, wherever there is an action that is happening, there will be somebody doing the action. So, for example, we are all participating in this live session. So we are doing a live session. So we are the subjects, and the live session being done is the event that is happening, and we are doing it. So we are the subject. Okay. Now, accusative and dative are basically 2 different kinds of objects. So, for example, if I am explaining to you the accusative, I am explaining what? The accusative. That is what I'm explaining. Okay, and that accusative itself here is the accusative object. And to whom am I explaining that? To you. So the person to whom I'm explaining that which I'm explaining is the dative. So for a simple thing, I give you an example, or I give you a chocolate, I give you a glass of water. Then the giving is happening, action, verb. I am giving, I am the karta, I'm the doer, I'm the subject of the action. In grammatical terms, I am the nominative, but basically I'm the doer. And I'm giving what? In different instances, I'm giving an example, or I'm giving a glass of water, or I'm giving chocolate. So all these objects that I'm giving are accusative. They are called direct objects. Okay, because the action is happening on them. I'm actually taking a glass of water and giving it. Okay, so that glass of water is the direct object that I am giving. That is the accusative. And the person to whom I'm giving it is the dative. And it is also understood as the indirect object in a sentence. So this is the very basic idea of the accusative and dative. There is not much to get confused about this. The point is that if you go back to your own mother tongue, I mean, so if you go back to your mother tongue, so you'll find that in many Indian languages, the accusative and dative have different forms. English doesn't have that. Okay, English doesn't have that in nouns. English has that only in pronouns, and in pronouns also there is just one form for object and one form for subject. You don't distinguish between the direct and indirect objects in English, even in the pronouns. Okay. So the thing is that if you go back to your own language and if you make sentences like मैं आपको एक प्याला पानी देता हूँ, तो मैं हो गया आपका कर्ता. I think I cannot give examples correctly enough in too many languages. I can give examples correctly in English, Hindi, Marathi, and German. So I'll keep to Hindi. I hope everyone gets the gist of it. तो मैं आपको एक प्याला पानी देता हूँ. मैं हो गया कर्ता. मैं क्या क्रिया कर रहा हूं, मैं कुछ दे रहा हूं. क्या दे रहा हूं? एक प्याला पानी. वो हो गया आपका accusative object. कर्म हो गया आपका वो. एंड देन मैं किसे देता हूं? आपको. The आप becomes आपको when it becomes dative in Hindi, for example. Similarly, the ish in German becomes mir, or the z becomes ihnen, or ear if it's she, and so on. So these are things that we need to once we understand what is the accusative and what is the dative. Accusative is the direct object. Dative is that person usually to whom we are giving something or sending something or writing something, etc. Once we understand this concept, then what we need to do is we have to learn the different forms, because those forms we are not used to, since most of our education is in English. We are not used to these different forms, so we need to get used to them and learn them. Okay, so accusative dative should, as a concept, it is very simple, but we have to put in some work in order to remember the different forms. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. We will come back if there are still any doubts lingering. We'll come back to it at the end of once I go through the questions that are in front of me, and you please make a note for yourselves of if you have any further doubts on this, whatever I'm saying. Then the next question is from Afreen, and Afreen is asking whether the exam is subjective or objective. Okay, so the simple answer is the exam is majorly objective. There is a very small subjective element in the exam, which is to test. Can I request everyone to please mute? Anyone who's unmuted, mute yourselves. There is somebody who's unmuted. Can you please mute? Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, Afrin is asking exam is subjective or objective. It is objective. So there is a section on listening. It is, and there are other people who have asked about the pattern of the exam also. So to all of them, I am putting this answer together, and I hope it will resolve the doubts that you have. So there are 4 sections in the exam. One section is listening comprehension, where you will be given links to audio files which you will be able to listen to and mark the answer. Most of it will be multiple choice, true and false, or multiple choice questions. So that is one section. Another section will be reading comprehension, where you'll be seeing texts in front of you, and based on those texts, there will be multiple choice questions which you have to click the correct answer. Again, here at the most you might have to type in a word that as a correct answer, but otherwise mostly it is just select the right answer. It's an MCQ type question, multiple choice question. The third section is grammar. Grammar also everything is objective. There is nothing that's subjective in grammar. It is either correct, choose the correct option, or at the most type in the correct pronoun or verb form or something like that. So one word answer that you have to type in, or mostly it is select the correct answer from the given choices. Okay. The last section of the exam is something called writing ability. And in that, we expect you to write a very small paragraph. Now, typically, we don't expect that answer to be more than, let's say, 100 words at the most. Okay. So that is also, so like 5 or 6 sentences. Let's say you have to write to a friend saying, can we meet tomorrow at this time? What are you free? And where would you like to go? And things are very simple things, or there might be a question in which we might ask you to write 5 sentences about yourself. Okay, describe your hobbies or describe your daily routine or anything. Okay, so that's that's the only section, the last section of the paper, which is the writing ability, which has very, very simple and very short descriptive or what we call subjective type of questions. But again, there a lot of clues will be given. For example, the situation will be given to you, including some vocabulary, and all you have to do is construct correct sentences. Or if there is a question about writing an email, then please go through our lectures, and there is a simple email format which you should know how to address people and how to greet people, how to sign off, etc. So go through that, and that's the only thing that is descriptive or subjective. Otherwise, the paper I would say is, I think, 85 to 90% objective. Okay. Or maybe 80 to 85% objective, because the last section will have I think, if I'm not mistaken, 20 marks, so 80% objective. I hope that is clear about the nature of the paper. And there's also a question which many of you have asked: what will the pattern? The pattern is, or what are the kind of questions that are going to be asked? And that, if you have been doing your assignments regularly, then you can rest assured that most, if not all, of the questions are of the same type that you encounter in the assignments. So, you have to also understand that teachers also can have only this much of bandwidth about what they can ask. So from that point of view, you can rest assured that most of the questions, I mean, we have not had, like, for example, in the assignments, we have not had the short paragraph writing type of question, or we have not given you a small paragraph and said, please translate this paragraph into English, or given you 2 sentences and said, please translate these sentences into German. These are kind of questions that we have not done in the assignment. And it is also, you have to also understand that there are more than 13,000 people who are doing the course, so it is not physically possible to correct those assignments. So so we stick to very objective MCQ type questions in the assignment, but there is one section in the exam where you'll have to write a few sentences. Okay, and that will be manually corrected by us over here. So yeah, the pattern will be very much in line with the assignments, and similar type of questions you can expect. Okay, so I need to hurry up a little bit because otherwise it will take a long time. So then Tarini is asking whether NPTEL exam certificate is fine for applying universities in Germany. No, the NPTEL exams are recognized in India, and they are valid for your credits in India. But if you want to submit a certification to a German university of having learned German, then that certification has to come. The German universities unfortunately accept only German certifications. They don't accept Indian certifications. Okay, so but that's okay in the sense that you can actually give the exam as an external candidate, and we know many people till now who have learned German through NPTEL by doing this course and then gone on to write the exams conducted by the Goethe Institute, that is the Max Planck Bhavan, or other agencies in India on behalf of the German institutions, and they have done quite well in those exams. So they didn't need to go through a separate course again at the other institutions. They could do the NPTEL course and then they could clear the exams outside. Okay, so you'll have to write that exam in order to get the certification valid for German universities. Okay, so then we go on to Ibrahim's question. Ibrahim is asking, yeah, that I've already answered. That is, exam pattern will be and level somehow same like assignments. Yes, that is already answered. I hope, Ibrahim, you got your answer. Then Pranav is asking, memorize genders for some words. I have answered that as well. Arivakarsu is asking, transcript of lecture 36 is not matching with the video. I saw this question earlier also, and we will verify that. Arivakarsu, if you have logged in, then we will have a look at it and we will correct if it has to be corrected. Okay, so thank you for bringing this to our notice, and we will have it checked right away. Then Meghraj has two questions. How to access the video clips that are mentioned in the textbooks and workbooks? Okay, so that the thing is that the textbook, if you have bought, then on the copyright page of the textbook, you will find an access code, and you go to the publisher's website and you register yourself with this access code, and then you will get access to all the online materials that are there, and the film clips are also there in their database. Okay, so the film clips unfortunately don't come together with the textbook. What we get with the textbook are the audios. Okay, and the glossary and the workbook and textbook and audios come together, but the videos are in their database on their servers, and with the code that is given on the copyright page of the textbook, you can access the material that is on their servers. Okay, so yeah, I hope this answers your question, Meghraj?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you have another question, details about A1 exam. You're going to write on 26th April Mumbai the Goethe exam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the Goethe exam of A1, I mean, this is not the forum to give details about that, because also, you see, I don't teach at the Goethe Institute, so I'm not, but I can assure you that what we are teaching in the German 1 course, if you've done it well, you should have no problem with the A1 exam of the Goethe Institute. The type of question will be different. The only thing that we do not practice in our NPTEL course is speaking German. That I hope you can understand that it is not possible for us to practice that because of the mass nature of this course. But that is the only thing you have to practice a little bit before the exam. Please practice speaking simple things, responding to simple things like how do you say thank you, and what if somebody says thank you, what do you say? Like if someone says Dankeschön, then I say bitte or bitteschön. Those kind of responses, how do you, very simple responses in German, how do you give spontaneously? That is something you'll have to practice, because that we cannot do in the NPTEL course. So I think apart from the spoken component, the spoken component is the only one that you will have to practice separately. Otherwise, I think we cover most of it here in this course. And if you do this course well, I mean, I can safely say, I think that you will do that other course well as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So then Meghraj also has further questions. Learn Wortschatz at the end of the chapter. That is the vocabulary. Learn Wortschatz is the vocabulary, which again you can have different methods of. If there are nouns, then my suggestion is just learn them by heart. Their gender, plural, meaning, just learn it by heart. And verbs, single words. If there are expressions, it is better to try and make a sentence of those expressions. Go back to your textbook and see where that expression has been used. Okay. Based on that, on that pattern, make similar sentences and practice the use of that phrase or that muhavra kind of thing. Okay. So that would be the reply to your question. Video clips I've already answered, and yeah. So the what I keep telling everyone, I think most of the people who are doing the course in NPTEL actually are quite regular, because those you also have to submit assignments every week. But what I try to tell even students who are in the classroom here with me at IIT Madras, what I'm insist is that learning a language, it's very important to stay in touch with the language every day. Okay, because language is something that we live. Language is not something that, it's not like a mathematical formula that I learn and then I can apply it anywhere. It's not like that. The more I speak and hear it and read it and write it, the more I internalize it, and that's very important. So it becomes part of your being, and only then can you actually respond in that language. Okay, so very, very important. Give it half an hour every day. At any time of the day, take out half an hour. Just be with the language for half an hour, and you will realize that it will start improving automatically. Okay, so then we have Maruda Sundar, who's asking how to deal with legal policy issues. I didn't understand the question. Maruda, if you're there, please clarify what exactly you mean by this. I mean, I'm not here to give legal advice. Okay, I'm by no stretch of imagination a lawyer or a German lawyer, so I cannot answer this question. How to prepare for the exam? Do your assignments well, and as I just told you, half an hour every day. Now the exam is around 1 month away, slightly less than 1 month. I think you just give half an hour to an now. If you come closer to the exam, maybe an hour a day, but don't get too stressed out about it, because as I said, we have been tried to ensure through the assignments that you are used to the pattern of the exam mostly, and that you will then find it also not very difficult to negotiate the kind of questions that are there. Of course, how well you do will depend also on how much you prepare, how well you prepare. So that I cannot predict. But as far as being used to the pattern is concerned, I think we have taken care of that. Okay. In the gap between A1 and A2 courses, this is Meenal is asking how to prepare the exam. I hope Meenal you got the answer. Then Parthu is asking improve my vocabulary and grammar in the gap between A1 and A2 courses. You can revise what you've done, the 12 lessons of A1, and you can watch the videos of A2. See the videos. There's another question who's somebody asking later on whether one second. I think Himanshu is also asked, can I access the course from beginning even after the tenure is over? Yes. So I want to tell Himanshu, as well as I want to tell Parthu, that even after the course is exam, everything is done, all the videos of A1 and A2, and in fact now even A3, once the whole course is done, after that even of A3 or B1, sorry, not A3, but right now A1, A2, all the videos are available on the YouTube channel of NPTEL. So you can go to so we have 12 weeks and 12, 3 are 36, about 40 to 42 videos for each of these levels, and you can access them online anytime. Okay, they're always online. So it doesn't, even those who have not registered for the course can access them. The registration for the course means that you will actually begin doing the course with us, and we will be giving you assignments, and we'll be correcting the assignments and so on and so forth, and responding to your difficulties and so on and so forth. So that is, otherwise the lectures by themselves are available 24/7 to anyone who has an internet connection. Okay. So I hope you will be able to access them afterwards, and again, keep in touch with the language. And then we have again, Ritu is asking how will our exam questions be? I hope I've answered your question, Ritu. Himanshu's question I've answered. Then Tushar is asking how to conjugate regular and irregular German verbs. So Tushar, you can go back to the video in which we have conjugated regular verbs. Regular verbs conjugation, there is a pattern, and we have explained the pattern in that. Irregular verbs. I mean, I don't think I should talk here about regular verbs because the pattern is clearly explained in the lecture. Irregular verbs is something that that we come across in all languages. And what happens is in German, when we conjugate verbs in German, we conjugate for three persons: first person, second person, third person, and for singular and plural. So in all this conjugation table, I think 99% of irregular verbs in German, they are irregular only in the do form and the RZS form. So the informal you, do, tu or tum, that do form, and he, she, it, RZS, that form. Only these two forms actually deviate from the pattern of the regular verbs. And this deviation is normally only the change in the vowel. So we have seen that to travel is fahren. The first example we can take is to travel, which is fahren, F-A-H-R-E-N, fahren, so travel. And the do form, the A will get an umlaut, which means the A will become A, and the word is fährst, do fährst. And the same change will apply to RZS without the S at the end. Okay, so fährt, do fährst, and fährt. This is the only irregularity that will happen. If you take lesen, for example, or essen, or any of the nehmen, any of the irregular verbs, geben, you can go back and check all the irregular verbs that we have done, and you will find that most of them will have only this irregularity, that the do and the form, the vowel changes. Otherwise, there is a list of, if you go to your workbook, at the end of the workbook, you will find a list of irregular verbs. Please learn it. It's not much. It's about 30-35 verbs. Please remember them. Please remember what change happens in those irregular verbs, and you will be fine. Okay. So, how to conjugate regular verbs is explained in the lectures, and about irregular verbs, we have to basically build again a foundational vocabulary of, let's say, 25 to 30 irregular verbs, and then we will notice how it changes. Okay, there are certain ways in which verbs change, but again, as I said, instead of learning 14 different patterns in which plural is made, or 12 different patterns in which verbs become irregular, I think it's better to, instead of learning 12 rules, you learn 24 verbs and you'll be fine. You'll add to your vocabulary also, and you will get used to the irregular verbs very quickly. So that is, I hope that answers the question. Then Tushar's question, then Dipti is asking the same question: how to conjugate in general regular. Please go, there is a specific lecture in which we have done conjugations. In the earlier assignments, we have given several questions on conjugations, so you can go back to those and take a look. Z usage in different places is Akash's question. So again, when we do the basic, how do you say, the basic first person, second person in German. Like in English, I have I, first person, singular, plural, we, second person, you, singular, or you, all of you, plural, second person. I is the one who's speaking, you is the person that I'm speaking to, and I'm speaking to you about, that fellow who had come to my house that day, that guy. So he or she or it, third person. So when we make this, when we make conjugation table with first, second, and third persons in German, we realize that there are 3 different Z's. Okay, there is one Z which is always written with a capital S, and all its forms are always written with a capital letter. That Z is is not unique to German. We have it in Hindi and we have it in Marathi and many other Indian languages as well. Is the respectful or formal you, which in modern English you don't have. In medieval and older English, you probably had that. But now in modern English, you have just you. But in German, you have a Z, which is a respectful formal you, and a du, which is the familiar informal you. So that is one Z. And it is easily identifiable because it's always written with the capital S. Then there are two other Z's. One is she and one is they. Now, this we have to see what it is referring to. Whenever we use a Z, now Z is a pronoun. Okay. So a pronoun by definition stands for a noun. So unless the noun is known, we cannot use the pronoun. And the noun that is known will tell us whether it is she or they. Are we talking about the students who are learning German? They are learning German? Then it's a they. Die Studenten lernen Deutsch. Sie lernen Deutsch. Then it is the Z is they because it's referring back to the students. But meine Freundin lernt Spanisch. Sie lernt gern Spanisch. My friend, my girlfriend is learning Spanish and she likes to learn Spanish. Now, if my reference point is meine Freundin, then the Z obviously means she. And the second aspect is, of course, that also the verb conjugations will be different. Okay. This in English also, fortunately, is different in the sense she learns Spanish and they learn Spanish. She and they conjugations are different. So I hope these three different Z's that occur in the German conjugation table, they are not all that, they can seem very confusing in the beginning, but once you start understanding how sentences are constructed and what they stand for, then it kind of resolves itself. Okay, so then we have Ramesh, who is asking, watching English movies with German subtitles improve our knowledge of the German language, or watching German movies with German audio and subtitles? I mean, depends on how used you are to listening to German. I would suggest watching German movies with German subtitles. If it becomes too difficult, then of course you can shift to English subtitles. But I think watching German movies with German subtitles might be a little better. Then you might be kept away from the temptation to always translate and understand German through English. That's the problem that we have, that we try to understand a foreign language through a language we already know. And I know that we need to do that in the beginning, just to get a step into the foreign language. But once you stepped into that, then you try to keep within that language rather than constantly translating from our source language into the so-called target language which we're trying to acquire. Okay, so then how to prepare for the exam is again Meenal's question. I hope Meenal I've answered it. So these are the questions that I have here in front of me. I've missed out someone who has submitted a question and I don't think I have missed out any. So then we will quickly go through the yeah, again, Manju Priya is asking on the YouTube channel, the English language is having a strong influence on my German sentence construction. This will happen, Manju Priya. This is nothing unusual. You don't need to be too disturbed about it, because language interference is a standard phenomenon in learning language. Anybody I'm sure there are some language teachers among the audience today as well. And we all know that one of the first things that we have to actually negotiate for our learners is interference. When we try and learn a different language, then the languages that we already know begin to interfere into that. Okay, so it's okay in the beginning, but that's why I'm saying the more you try and so, for example, the question that was asked about Mm, where is that question? At the end of the lesson, there is a word charts, learn word charts, how to deal with that. So I'm saying that wherever a phrase is given, for example, then try and make sentences by yourself based on the kind of sentences you find in the textbook. Okay. Then Goethe Institute German course, please go to their website and find the film question. I have already answered Snehanjali that question. I'm going to the Zoom chat now. So, Zoom chat, it is quite a, okay, very quickly, Guten Abend. And Anurag, you have your hand up, you can ask a question quickly.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I had three questions actually. The first one was when to use on and durch, because in English, from and through can be interchanged. For example, it won't be wrong if I'm saying that I'm learning to speak German through Duolingo, or I'm learning to speak English from Duolingo. It can be interchanged here, but in German, the prepositions are very strict. So what should be used in conditions like this?
No, you can, in German, actually, you should be using mit, or von would be used if you're learning from a person. Okay, von. Durch, if you're learning through a process. And mit is if you're learning with the help of some material. Very simple. Okay. And even in German, you can, we have not done in A1, we still haven't done the passive voice, but there is some interchangeability between von and durch in German as well. But anyway, I think if you want to say with the help of an instrument such as a book, then mit. If you want to say from a person, then von. And if you want to say through a certain process, then durch. Okay, so very roughly that's.
So my second question was, there are some words in English like stressed, which can be used as adverb or verb as well as adjective. Like if I'm saying that I'm very stressed right now, it will be an adjective for me, because it is showing my condition.
Yes.
But if I'm saying that he's stressing me to do that, meaning that he's pressurizing me to do that, then it becomes a verb. So what is the condition in German for a verb to become adjective and vice versa?
Okay, so you're asking me a question which is not part of A1. Okay, but that's one warning I want to give. So I'm just going to very quickly answer. There are two instances in which in German you have verbs become adjectives. Of course, this phenomenon exists in German as well, and you can have either each verb has in let's say stressed, stress and stressed. Stress is the infinitive form, and stressed with an ed at the end is the participle, past participle. So the past participle in German can become an adjective, and even the infinitive form, such as if you say the one who speaks, the speaking man, the speaker, can become der sprechende Mann or something like that. So there are ways in which verbs become adjectives in German as well. But as I said, this is not part of the A1. So I hope you understand that I'm not going to respond to this in more detail over here.
Sir, there are two other questions, if I may. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I have two questions. If
Anurag, can we give me a moment to just go through the chat questions, because I think people have also typed in their questions. I'll take 5 minutes for this and I'll come back. We still have 15 minutes to go. Okay, and then Munasha has her hand up, and Maitri also has a hand up. So just hang on for a moment. I'm going through the can traditional teaching method lead to fluency in German language. Well, yes, why not? Actually, more than teaching method, my entire point of view is that it is very much the learner's initiative that is of critical importance. Okay, I mean there are so many different methods you can always follow, and in fact most of us follow. Those of us who teach language will know most of us actually follow a khichdi of methods. Okay, I mean we don't strictly say no, I'm going to only translate and grammar, only translate and grammar method I'm going to follow and nothing else, and it doesn't work like that. Or only communicative method, and I will not utter a single word of any other language in my class. It doesn't really work like that. Okay, so I think the focus is more for me on making the learners actively learn rather than my delivering a dose of German to them. Okay, almost as medicine. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Shraddha Goel asked that question. Okay, then Dr. Raman is asking, most of the audios are difficult to follow since it is spoken very fast. How to? That is something that you will have to work. If you mean the audios that are played in the lectures that we play from the textbook, or whether you mean the audios, if you bought the textbook and have the CDs with you and you play them, then you can try and hear the audios repeatedly, or if you're playing it online, then you also have the option of slightly reducing the playback speed. Then it might become a little slower and you might be able to follow, but don't reduce it too much, then the pronunciation will go for a toss. So maybe I would suggest try and see whether you can understand better at 0.8 speed or something like that, 0.8 or 0.9 speed. If your system allows you, most systems will allow at 0.75. But that is one thing that you could try. Then we have question pattern we've answered. The question is assignments are asked before the lessons. This has happened once or twice, and we have already had this, Dr. Raman, we have already had this conversation with maybe you or the other people on the forum. And this, I hope after the first or one or two times it hasn't happened again. Listening and understanding at the same moment is getting difficult. How to overcome this? Well, practice is the only way to overcome this. There is nothing else that we can actually do, because the more intensively you practice, the easier it becomes. Language learning is an intense experience, and it is an intensive experience, because we have to understand that when we learn a new language, actually we are reshaping our brain to think. It's like installing a different operating system, okay, in our brain. So you have to understand that it is a very intense process for a person to actually learn a new language, and all the difficulties that we face are basically coming from there, because our body, I've said this in the lecture as well, our entire vocal mechanism as well as our mind, okay, they are being somewhat reformatted in order to produce different sounds, produce different sets of words for different situations, for different emotions, and so on and so forth. It's a very intensive experience. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Okay. Prepositions. Jia Singh is asking about prepositions. Please go back to the lessons on prepositions, and if it's not possible in an interaction here to go into prepositions as such. So if you have any specific question about the dative, the accusative, or the vexel prepositions, please put it there, and definitely either I or one of our team members will respond to that, because that has been done in detail in the lectures also. Online exam, please provide 2 or 3 sample practice papers. All the assignments you're doing, Kamlesh, that's the pattern. Don't worry about it. Okay. Provide us some sample papers. Okay. Sample papers, yes. Esgibt versus assist versus daist. How are we going to use assist? Leave aside. Daist and esgibt. Okay. If you decide to use esgibt, remember that whatever it is that is there, please put it in the accusative form. If you use daist, whatever is there, please maintain the nominative form. That's the only thing I will say right now. Otherwise, assist is a slightly different um, point. So I won't mix assist with daist and esgibt, but daist there is and esgibt also there is. There are both. That is also a difference. Esgibt einen Mann or esgibt 10 Leute. It's esgibt. But da ist ein Mann or da sind 10 Leute. Okay, then the ist has to change to plural sind for 10 Leute. Okay, so you have to mind that with da ist. Okay, fahren and gefahren. Fahren is to be used in the present tense. Gefahren is to be used in the I have traveled perfect tense. That is when ich bin gefahren is what you use. Okay, then weekly papers test. Few of the questions had some issues due to which they were marked wrong. See, all these things we are correcting at the back end, and every time there is this thing, I don't think any such issue is pending as such. Okay, so if there's been a typo or there has been a mistake in actually configuring the correct answer to the question, then the only thing we can do is we can devaluate the question. We just make it into 0 points so that it doesn't affect the overall marking. Yeah, those who have done the question correctly, they will lose out on half a mark or 1 mark. But then that is, I think, the most that we can get to fairness, because you'll also understand that there is a team of a few people who work on this, and not everybody knows German. Okay, especially those who configure the assignments on computer and computer trained. Like I'm not computer trained, for example, but so those who configure the assignments, they are not people who know German. So there is sometimes these slips can happen in the communication between us, and then I think we have tried to respond to most such queries. If there are any, we will find out in the forum tonight and tomorrow if there are any which are not answered, and we will respond to that. A1, A2, yeah. Does the NPTEL have higher? Yes, we have right now. Actually, B1 is also running. B1, we have B1 course, which is the level after A2, which we have introduced this semester, and it's already running. So next time in June or July, whenever the next NPTEL courses run, we will hopefully be able to offer B1 again. Then auf and an Maitri, it is not possible for me to go in. See, auf is on something and an is at something. Okay, so you can imagine an object on the table, like for example, my smartphone is auf dem Tisch. Okay, it is on the table. It is in contact with the table. It's vertically placed on the table. I mean, in the sense it's on the table. At is, for example, if the painting is on the wall, then the painting is not actually on top of the wall. The painting is kind of attached to the wall adjacently, like this. That is an, and auf is on top of. Now, this is the most that I can explain about an and auf. When these are used, that time we have to look at the context, we have to look at the sentence, and then we have to get used to the way in which they are used in German. Okay. All the questions about centers and hall tickets, etc. Please mail support@nptel.iitm.ac.in. Then ask questions about course gets over. Forum in the course material will be available. Yes, I've already answered Nidhi that question, that all the material will be available. All the material meaning the videos will be available 24/7 to anybody. Course material, I think forum and course material, you please find out from the tech team of NPTEL. Write to support@nptel, and they will be able to tell you. Okay. Then film questions, publish the paper pattern, that we have already answered. Watching all, okay. Thank you. Okay, you will now. Okay, nice to know that. Duration of the course, working. Okay. I think we've come to the end of the chat box. I hope. Yes, with use of most nicht and darf. Okay, I'll quickly. Prabhakar is asking. I'll quickly do this. Then Chandra is asking. Go through the books for the exam. Network is enough. I would suggest if you have access to other books, always read other books. And I mean, it is sufficient, Network, because that is our prescribed book and it is sufficient. But the more books you use, the richer the experience of learning. So it's a call you have to take. Okay. Mus and Darf. Okay. Now please stop the chat questions because otherwise I won't be able. There are still 2-3 people waiting with their hands up. And I'm going to stop with Chandana, Prabhakar. Shraddha is how should practice speaking for German. Shraddha, we have to speak as much as possible. You can or read aloud from your lessons, small things, listen to it. And speaking practice is something that NPTEL courses find difficult to do because of the fact that we are in this particular medium where we can't live interact every time or very rarely, in fact. Okay, then I'll answer Prabhakar's question about where is that thing on now? Muss nicht and darf. So yeah, this is we can go back to the video and also see that müssen, the modal verb müssen means must, which means there is a compulsion to do something. Okay, müssen, which is the same in German also, müssen. Dürfen is the modal verb, which means may, permission to do something. You may do this. Okay, you're allowed to do this. Dürfen. Okay. Yes, please. Okay, dürfen. Then, but you may not do something. Denial of permission. Denial of permission is not nicht plus müssen in German. Denial of permission is nicht plus dürfen. Okay, so ich darf etwas machen and ich darf etwas nicht machen. I am allowed to do something or I am not allowed to do that thing. This is a very clear pair. Now, müssen, compulsion to do something, obligation to do something is one thing, but müssen and nicht. Ich muss nicht Deutsch lernen, for example. It means müssen plus nicht does not mean denial of permission. Müssen plus nicht means absence of obligation. There is no obligation on me to learn German. I am doing it because I like it. Okay, ich muss nicht Deutsch lernen, aber ich will Deutsch lernen. So the thing is, müssen as obligation or compulsion, dürfen as permission, müssen nicht, not as denial of permission, but müssen nicht as absence of obligation or compulsion. That is something that we have to remember always. And denial of permission is dürfen nicht. Okay, I hope you got your answer, Prabhakar, with that. And okay, novel. Anurag is asking which novel. Anurag, there are many novels. I can't really tell you which novel to read right now. After B1, maybe, yeah. Thank you. Then any other? Yeah. Munasha and Maitri have their hands raised still. Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't again respond to the YouTube questions because it's not physically possible to respond to all. But I think these two have their hands up, have had their hands up for a long time. So please go ahead, Maitri. You can ask your question.
Sir, I had a question regarding wohne and leben. Many times during the introduction in letter or essay, we say ich wohne in and then the place. But isn't ich lebe also correct?
Yes. Is that all? Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
So leben and wohnen. See, leben is also, leben primarily means to live. In the sense, it has to do with life. Leben, das Leben, the noun with a capital L is also the life. Okay, that's Leben. Leben und Tod, life and death. So that Leben has to do with life. I live in Chennai means I lead my life in Chennai. Okay, in that sense, I say I live in Chennai. Wohn has to do with residence. I reside. Okay, so there are these two slightly different connotations to wohnen and leben. In day-to-day language, when I say I live in Chennai, in German, both are okay. Ich lebe in Chennai or ich wohne in Chennai. Okay, so but there are connotations of leben such as Lebensmittel. You've learned the word Lebensmittel. Do you remember Lebensmittel?
Yes, sir.
Those things that are required to live, that is groceries actually, that day-to-day groceries that you buy, the sabzi and the rice and the wheat and whatever else, the day-to-day groceries that you buy to consume, those are called Lebensmittel. Now that connotation of Leben, wohnen does not have. You got it?
Yes, sir.
And on the other hand, you have an apartment which is called a Wohnung, because it is a room, it is a space in which people reside. Now that is not called a Lebung, no? It's called a Wohnung. So that connotation of residing or a space to reside, that Leben does not have. Okay. I hope you got the answer. But in day-to-day language, if you want to say I live in Pune or I live in Chennai or I live in Delhi, you can say ich lebe in Delhi or you can say ich wohne in Pune. Both are correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Munasha Raju.
Guten Abend, sir.
Guten Abend.
Sir, my question was about the three Z's, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
The Z is used for formally addressing a third person. But the difference between the other two Z's, which are commonly used as with the small s, can they be differentiated with the construction of a sentence, or when it comes to a paper, it can be differently known?
Huh. So, Munasha, first thing is the big Z, capital
Yes.
Z. It
Yes.
is used to refer to a second person, not third person.
Okay, sir.
Second person, the person that I'm speaking to. Okay, so that is the person. That's clear to you.
Yes, sir, that's clear.
Okay, that's clear. Then the other two Z's, one is a singular Z, which is he, and one is a plural Z, they. Okay, these can be distinguished primarily on the basis of the verb conjugation. Very simple.
Okay, sir.
Z fair means she travels. Z fahren, if it is not the big Z, Z fahren, en means they travel. Simple.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now this is on the basis of verbs. You can distinguish verb conjugation. You can distinguish between these two Z's. And thirdly, what I would say is what I said in the beginning while we talked about this. There, as a rule, a pronoun stands in for a noun. We know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if a pronoun has to be used, then its reference to a noun must be known. Otherwise, how do I know which pronoun to use?
Yes, sir.
So whenever I use these in text, I encounter them, or in speech or in writing, I use them. I am already aware who they are referring to.
Okay, sir.
And so I'm already aware. So in practice, it doesn't really get that confusing, because I'm already aware whether the text is speaking about my friend who's a girl, or whether the text is speaking about my colleagues who are several people. Then I know that in the one instance it's referring to she, and in the other instance it's referring to they.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've had Anurag. I think I've answered all your questions.
No, sir. Two questions. I actually wrote them down because I thought that it might take long. So one
Nouns
question.
feminine in German, what we were referring to male.
Yes, sir.
And one regarding verb affects nouns and articles. Yeah, so we can go into that little bit with the help of dictionary later on. Okay. Then a noun article associated with it and vice versa. Verb affects nouns. Yeah, verbs render nouns into a one kind of object or the other, and that is how the articles will be affected. So either verbs will put nouns, either nouns will remain in the nominative if they are the doer of the verb, of the action that the verb describes, or if they are direct object, then the verb will render them into the accusative form, indirect object, dative form. Okay, that's how verbs will affect the articles associated with the nouns.
So,
Okay.
sir, if we are going into the passive form, for example, I read somewhere that what Germans do, like I was bit by a
Please,
dog.
Anurag, please. Passive is, in fact, passive will come in only in B1. Okay, so passive voice is not even A2. So shall we leave it aside, please? Because there are so many hands that are still up. Okay.
And so the first question about the mouse. What if we are referring to a male?
No, that I think we can easily solve with the help of dictionary. So we'll go with that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Then
sir.
you're welcome. Yeah, Parthu has his hand up.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Which
Nabin.
book can we refer for grammar like English has Wren and Martin?
So if you look at the course description, even on the NPTEL website, there is a prescribed grammar book which is available, I think, in India now, which is called, it's a classic of German grammar called by two writers called Dora Schulz and Heinz Griesbach. They wrote it in 1967. Okay, so it is a book that follows a very, very quote unquote traditional pattern of language teaching with a particular gradation or sequence of grammar topics, and that's not the way grammar is taught in the more modern textbooks. But I still go back if I have a doubt in my mind about a grammar element. I go back to Schulz Griesbach. The book is called. It is there. Please go to the NPTEL website, and in the course description, which is there, we have given the prescribed books. In that, you will find for grammar, there's a book prescribed. It is available in the market. You have to do a bit of searching, but you will get it definitely in the market. Don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Kritika.
Yes, sir. Is that book available online or the content is available online? Can we?
That you have to check. It is available online.
All right.
I'm sure you'll find it, not a problem.
Okay, about the audio CDs as well, sir, that which are provided with the book. Is the audio content also available with the site? I mean, we have the code. I have the code with my book. So if I log
It
in,
is available. Yeah, it's available.
Actually, it is difficult to follow the site. I am trying. I mean, I had tried many times, but it's difficult to follow the site. So
what
is that possible?
Yes. What I can do is, if you put a question in the forum, then what we can do is we can actually make a step-by-step guide as to how to access the different these things. What do you call it? Different resources that are there.
Okay,
so just
that
put,
will be
just
very
put a question so that we don't forget. Put a question in the forum.
Saying, I will. Yes,
and then
sir.
I will ask one of our team members, because they have been using this online textbook themselves when they learned it. So they will be able to see. I have I only teach using NetSpec. I've not learned using NetSpec. So there is I think the learners, the students who have learned it, they are a little better versed with the entire thing than I am. Okay. So we will reply to that on the forum if it's okay with you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Kritika.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was Kritika.
No, that was Kritika Sharma.
Oh, okay.
No issues. Sir, actually, you have answered me through mail, but one more clarification, like I couldn't do it. It was like some personal issue. I couldn't write even a single exam, I mean, assignment. So how can I do the further process?
See, if you've not done everything, because I think the qualifying mark is 8 assignments you have to complete in order to be able to write the exam and get the certification. Okay. You can of course follow the videos and everything. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you need a certification, I think you'll have to register again in the next run of the course, because the assignment component it is for all NPTEL courses. It is a compulsory component, and we cannot really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is said like minimum 6 assignments has to be done.
8 out of 12.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have missed already 6 assignments, and now it is 10th assignment.
So you will not be able to get the eligibility for getting the certification.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about that, but that is again across NPTEL, it is something that is implemented, and then so it means that you will have to come back to.
Achha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have it again starting in June or July, whenever the next run starts at that time.
Achha. Okay, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
I hope I've not missed out any important questions.
Thank you so
on
much,
YouTube.
sir.
Yeah, you're most welcome. On the YouTube forum, tips for German language learners. Then where can we find the film questions? Yeah, that I already answered. I think Dharmesh Prajapati is asking, please give some information about Beauty Institute. Dharmesh, please look at the website. They have very informative websites, even with some material with which you can practice and so on and so forth. So it's a very well maintained website. Dharmesh, please go and check it out. Then Frederick Berg is saying hello. Navid. Vocabulary hard to memorize, says Ananya Talukdar. Ananya, that is well, my problem also. It was at one point of time. It still is many times. Okay, but we have to, as they say in Chennai, there is no other go. How to speak in German? Yeah, that we have already answered. So, okay, I hope questions. I think last question I'll take. Jia Singh has her hand up. We'll take the last question today. Already 12 minutes over time. Yeah.
Guten Abend, sir. I have registered myself for certification, but I missed 3 assignments, 2 or 3 assignments. Will I be able to?
As I just was talking to Kritika before this, if you have 8 assignments out of 12, then I think you are eligible for certification. To be on the safe side, I would suggest you please write to support@nptel.iit.ac.in and say that this is the situation. And
Okay.
as far as as far as my information goes, in the sense that you have to also understand that there is NPTEL administration is a very, very large thing which looks after some courses in the thousands. Okay, I am only delivering one course, which is my subject area. So these are things that are decided at the administrative level, eligibility. Okay, so
right, sir. I'll write to them and ask.
My information is 8 out of 12 assignments at least you should have done, and then you can write the exam. And if you have sufficient marks in both the components, then you can get a certification.
Okay, right.
But please write to support and verify this. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Nitesh, I have to at some point of time to end this, otherwise. Okay, Nitesh. Now, definitely last question. Nitesh.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Sir, for the exam preparation, network is enough, or network textbook is enough, or we can consider another books?
You can see. I said that it is enough. Testweg Deutsch just to pass the exam is enough. What is your? But the more books, I would suggest you buy this Schulz Griesbach, the grammar book, which is prescribed on our course page. Please go see. It is a good thing to keep if you're interested in the language, because as I was just saying to someone else, even today, if I have a doubt in German grammar, I go back to that old book. Okay, so the more books you use, the richer will be your experience. But as far as the goal of learning this much is concerned, Netzwerk is definitely a good book for that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, also wir müssen, it's a compulsion now. Wir müssen jetzt unsere Live-Unterhaltung, unsere Live-Interaktion müssen wir jetzt beenden. Yeah, we have to end the live interaction now. Hoffentlich macht das Deutsch lernen Ihnen Spaß. I hope you're enjoying learning German. Alles Gute, vielen Dank für heute, und alles Gute. Maybe if it is possible, then in the third week of, after second week of April, I will see if it's possible, we will schedule another short live interaction if it's necessary. Otherwise, whatever unanswered questions are there today, please post them on the forum. Okay, vielen Dank und auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, sir.
Auf
Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf
Auf Wiedersehen, sir.
Auf
Thank you.
Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen, sir.
Auf Wiedersehen, sir. Thank you.
Dankeschön, sir. Auf Wiedersehen.
Dankeschön. Schönen Abend noch.
Schönen Abend. Auf Wiedersehen.